I heard some politicians say you must be served as an individual, as if some people have been not served as in politicking. But if I was a politician, I would guide my people to protect themselves. I would not deceive you to get your vote when tomorrow you are going to perish. So to mislead you to go and commit suicide. That cannot be love. So we have to be cautious of this type of love, less this for facts from falsehoods. So this is the map, it is very clear. I'm sure you can see the green, the wetland. This is not drawn by NEMA. They can say NEMA has cooked the what? Cooked the data. This is an image. It is real time. So it shows you the house, where it is. So it's not that we work on guesswork. We work based on facts. So let no politician deceive you. Was where, which year. So you can see how the encroachment comes. How the houses are established, you will see. The map will show you. 60 years, we have evidence to prove that that's a lie. And this evidence is irrefutable. It is irrefutable evidence. So, and works were suspended. We have checked with our records. We have an application for establishment of a marina and a hotel in the area, but we are aware there are contestations between the scouts, the Kaz Beach, and the developer, so there is a lot of land dispute there. So we are investigating two things. The downer part, which neighbors a wetland, our investigation must answer, was there encroachment on the neighboring wetland or the works on dry land? That's one. Our technical people are going there again today to answer that. The second one, did they commence before approval, which is in affirmative, and that's a criminal offense. That's another issue to investigate. So, to address you, the case is known to NEMA and we've suspended the works until we have answered technically those three questions. And our technical teams are going to take GPS coordinates today. They will be laid on wetland shape files to establish if there is infringement on wetland boundary, which is a neighboring ecosystem. If there is infringement, we shall definitely take action. There is infringement on commencing before approval. Commencing before approval is an offense. So definitely that's an infringement. Whereas resorts and marinas are allowed by law on the lake because they actually protect the lake in this way. When you establish a marina on a lake, one, you stop degradation of that water because you want your boats to be in clean water. Nobody wants to sail on dirty water. Nobody wants to release the sewage on waters where their boats are or where their tourists or visitors are. So world over, resorts and marinas are permitted, and even in Uganda we permit them. But we do not permit at any one time pouring of soil or pouring of stones to create land in the lake. That one is not allowed. Neither do we allow conversion of wetlands to create that. We only allow marina on dry land neighboring the lake. That one is allowed, and for the benefits I have enumerated. Research was done in Mombasa on the ocean the places that have resorts, we are the only parts of the ocean that were clean. Because this is a self-limiting business. If you pollute the water near to your resort, then you have no business. You are chasing your own business. And nobody would want to invest money without benefiting from them. So whereas resort and marina may be considered, of course, not yet approved, any infringement on what I've said, encroachment on the wetland or encroachment on the water itself cannot be permitted. So let's wait for investigations. We shall be updating the public on that case.
All right, Doctor, from Smart 24 TV.
Smart 24.
Exactly.
Okay.
I have two questions. One regards NEMA's mandate and how challenge.
Even local government act has that provision. So it is unlawful to alienate or lease a wetland. And that's why 2nd September 2021, we indefinitely suspended any approvals in wetlands. Of course, some wetlands, like part of Namamve, were degazetted for industrial park in the past. That's a due process. It is the government that gazettes, and it is the government that degazettes. So if it was degazetted for industrial development, due process was done. But before you lose this point, a wetland can also exist on private land. So it's not only public land where we have wetlands. In fact, most of the wetlands you are talking about on Ginger Road are on titled private land. But the law still protects the wetlands there. So that's not government alienating or leasing because it's not public land. Government is not owning them. For example, Ruwera wetland is titled land, private land. So government is not the one alienating or leasing. It's already private land before the law protects the wetland. So we need to draw a line. Where it is government land, public land, government is not supposed to lease it or alienate it. That's what the law is saying. Where it's private land, government can only regulate. If it's wetland, government can still prohibit you from using it as a wetland, even if it is on your private land. Titles that existed, for example, before 1995, there are so many, and they are all valid titles. Titles issued after 1998 on wetlands would be candidates for impeachment because the Land Act 1998 expressly prohibits titling of land in wetlands. So you can have your land title, but how you use it is our business. Now, coming back to Jinja and Jeru, we have lots of pollution cases. We've held several enforcement operations. We've issued several improvement notices. We've taken samples and confirmed breach of standards for effluent discharge. And we've opened up cases with more than 5 companies, criminal cases on breach of standards. And these cases will result either in fines or prosecution. And we have also required all of them to make an undertaking on identified areas of improvement required and when they will improve. For example, if your problem is air pollution, like for steel companies, air pollution has been an issue. We must sign with you a compliance agreement when you will install air pollution control system. Because technologies exist, these systems are on the market. So we are going to sign compliance agreements with each one of them in respect to their areas of weakness, but of course they will be fined for breach of law. For companies, we don't take them to jail because a company is different from its owner. A company in law is independent of the owner. So a company commits a crime in its own right as a company. And a person can also commit a crime in their right as natural persons. So where the company is the one committing a crime, we fine them. Because the company can't be jailed. We fine them, and these fines sometimes can be heavy. We've had fines that go up to 1.6 billion. So the companies that are breaking the law should stand warned. Their coffers can be drained through these breaches. And we have no challenge so far. Now, the second one in relation to that is their use of disproportionate force. The answer is no. We know enforcement operations come with inconvenience, which we appreciate and we commensurate with the people who are inconvenienced. But like I said, there is a higher cost if we do not do so. These people can end up losing their lives through flooding, through diseases, pollution. People have been enjoying mayuni from Bwaise. You hear mayuni, Bwaise mayuni. Already that tells you that Bwaise is a wetland. That's why people call mayuni Bwaise. So already that's evidence that people are in a wetland and they know. That's why you call them mayuni Bwaise. So already that is confirmation. So really, if we do not help people to be removed, nature can strike and strike hard, and we end up losing lives like we did in Kenya. 300 lives were just lost. As I speak now, Iowa in the United States is submerged. Those of you who watch international news, you must have seen how people are suffering. It is a humanitarian crisis. So we don't want to wait to reach there when we can salvage the situation. So the force used is really proportionate. Nobody has been manhandled. Nobody has been injured. Nobody has been killed. In fact, they give you time to remove your things. Some can even ask for additional day to arrange and remove their things. It's only if you are stubborn and you want to refuse, or you want to commit suicide, like there is a certain man who wanted to commit suicide. He wanted to be in the house as the house is demolished. That one has to be removed by force for his own safety. But no house has been broken with the property inside. People are given a chance to remove them. No house has been broken with the people inside. We've not had any injury. So we try as much as possible to be humane, because whereas these are people who have offended the law, they are still citizens, they are still Ugandans, and we must protect their rights and privileges. The last question was, what was it? Huh? Oh, the fines. The fines. I am not saying that everyone who has been removed is going to pay 600 million. I said Section 55 of National Environment Act provides a punishment for a person who has encroached on wetland. This is not a NEMA fine. It is a fine established by Parliament. So you either go to jail for a maximum period of 12 years, or pay a fine of up to 600 million as determined by court. Court can give you less. Court can give, or both. Court can decide to give you both. So it depends on the circumstance. It is not that everyone is going to be given a bill to bring 600 million, not at all. It will depend on those who are prosecuted. Government may choose not to prosecute. In Uganda they say, atakutambara. How do they conclude it? Eh? Eh? Aona bimanyi, mwite mu bimanyi. Atakutambara tomutambara. So government may choose to forgive those who are remorseful and acknowledge the offense. Government can choose not to prosecute them. That's a decision for government, not me. and I said this will be consulted with the DPP, who has the right to decide who to prosecute or not who to prosecute. But government can choose to forgive its citizens. These are Ugandan citizens. So it's a matter of government decision. So the fines are not set by NEMA. They are set by your representatives in the parliament. They are the ones who enact the laws. For us, we are mere implementers. We are just there to implement. We don't make these decisions. We implement them. What was the other question? Moderator, you are in. To be speculating if I give you my opinion. Yeah. Economic research to compute the opportunity cost of using Rubiji, for example, as an eco park for tourism. So that requires a study. The size of Rubiji is 1,721 hectares. Out of this, only 481 hectares remain intact. So the degraded area is higher than the intact area. And the extents can be seen. I don't know if you can see. This is the map of Rubiji. I think this one is better. This is the map of Rubiji. It extends to Busega, extends to Bwaise. You can see Nansana. You can see Ruvaga. You can see Kawempe. You can see parts of Nakawa. So Rubiji is big. 1,721 hectares are covered by Rubiji. And it is under intense pressure in the areas of Nabisasiro, even Bulenga, Bwaise, Nsoba, Nansana West, and Nansana East, even up to Chebando, Busega, Rubia area, Kasubi. So it's big, and that's the area. If I may show you the extent of degradation using these maps, people have been peddling lies that they were there. So I heard some politicians say, you must be served as an individual, as if some people have been not served as in politicking. But if I was a politician, I would guide my people to protect themselves. I would not deceive you to get your vote when tomorrow you are going to perish. So to mislead you to go and commit suicide. That cannot be love. So we have to be cautious of this type of love. Let's decipher facts from falsehoods. So this is the map. It is very clear. I'm sure you can see the green, the wetland. This is not drawn by NEMA. They can say NEMA has cooked the what? Cooked the data. This is an image. It is real time. So it shows you the house, where it is. So it's not that we work on guesswork. We work based on facts. So let no politician deceive you. Was where, which year. So you can see how the encroachment comes. How the houses are established, you will see. The map will show you. 60 years, we have evidence to prove that that's a lie. And this evidence is irrefutable. It is irrefutable evidence. So, disasters. So, what was your other question, Olivia? Did I leave out some?
Why do people keep coming back?
Oh, yeah.
Handling this problem from the tail end instead of addressing the cause so that you don't go back for good?
I agree with you that enforcement is one of the many approaches which should be multidimensional to address the problem. If you address only enforcement, you can't get it right. The biggest cause of pressures on wetland is actually population pressure. In 1962, we were only 8 million. 8 million. We are now above 45 million. We are waiting for the final tally from the census. Now you imagine from 8 million to 45, and the land size has remained the same. It hasn't changed even an inch. So where are the 40 million extra people going? They are definitely going into wetlands, forests, and land elsewhere. So the biggest problem is population pressure. So we must reduce on our appetite for production. Because if the rate of production is higher than the rate of economic growth, our economy will stand, it will not move. I mean, you will plan a hospital for 100 people, and then 300 are produced. Will they get quality service? Instead of 100, you have 300. So the quality of service will be affected, and the rate of economic growth will be affected. So the primary cause is population pressure, which we must address. The second cause is competing land uses, unguided land use. You find you are promoting agriculture, you want more food production, and so you go for rice in wetlands. Whereas you are achieving a food security objective, you are losing a sustainability objective. So we need all the sectors to sit down and we harmonize, and then we move together as one government, one economy. The third factor is, in my view, impunity. Impunity. Some people go for wetlands even when they can afford dry land. That's just impunity. You find somebody is spending money to backfill a wetland. Why can't you use the same money to buy dry land? So impunity and greed is another factor. When we stop impunity, this should go. How do you stop impunity? By holding people accountable. Even if it is after 10 years or 100 years, hold them accountable. Don't leave them because they are there. So we must address the question of impunity. Then the other question is poverty. You find the poor people who cannot afford dry land, they invade the swamps because they are not paying, or they are bribing an LC1 chairman, like we saw in Ruviji. People were saying, but I bought from the chairman. Who said the chairman has the power to sell Kabaka's land? Because Ruviji, most of it is Kabaka's land. That's Mairo land. How can LC1 chairman have, where did they get power to sell people? So poverty is also another problem. So we have to address poverty through industrialization, through economic transformation, to put people into services sector. Tourism, for example, which Olivia likes, can be a solution to providing people with jobs, removing them from overdependence on land. They continue using the same land over and over again and making money. There is a wetland in Vigodi. Have you heard about it, Olivia? Vigodi wetland. Vigodi wetland, anybody who has heard about it? It is very good. It's not a big wetland, but it's generating a lot of money for the community. It has built schools. It has taken people to school. People have benefited, and the wetland is continuing to exist. That's sustainable use. So we can help people continue benefiting from these wetlands without decimating them. So those are some of the factors responsible, and we can only address them through proper land use plan to re-echo this call. If you know you are in a wetland please vacate peacefully so that we do not have confrontation. When you vacate peacefully, one, you salvage all your properties and you may not be prosecuted. You may have a pardon of not being prosecuted for imprisonment or fine. So it is in your interest to live peacefully. If you stay and you wait to be pushed by force, you may be prosecuted, imprisoned or fined, and the restoration exercise may inconvenience you, but also you may be asked to compensate government for the cost of restoration. So we don't want our people to be confused by the politicians who are taking advantage of them as they look for votes. Don't be duped. Because if you stay by force, the law is not on your side. You may be prosecuted, you may be imprisoned, you may be required to compensate government for restoration, you may be fined under Section 55 of National Environment Act. So if you've received a restoration order, and even if you have not yet received a restoration order, it's in your own interest and the interest of the general public to leave the wetland so that the wetland can continue providing you ecological services and socio-economic services that I have enumerated here. Do we expect compensation? There has been a question of compensation. Ordinarily, the evicted encroachers are supposed to compensate government for the cost of restoration in line with Section 133 of the National Environment Act 2019. Government cannot therefore compensate encroachers, as this would not only invite more encroachments in anticipation for compensation, but also would be a tacit approval by government to sanitize criminal activities. You cannot commit a crime and then the government compensates you for commission of that crime. So it should be the other way around. People were warned, people were given notices, people were given restoration orders, and they did not hear. Or they had and deliberately refused to move. Now, government has come to remove you. The law now applies. It is supposed to be at your cost. If they had vacated peacefully, you never know. Government would even not prosecute them. But now case files are being compiled and the government will make a decision whether to prosecute the removed encroachers or to pardon them. That will be a decision to be taken by government after consultation with the DPP. Is there selective enforcement against some and not others? This has been a question that you continuously pose. That there are abana nebyana. You see, you are chorusing it also. So you know you have been asking it. And I want to address it. Very, very important. So the law enforcement exercise looks out for any person that has breached or offended the law. When you have breached or offended the law, it doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor. The law catches up with you. Questions arise. Some infrastructure in wetlands have been left and others removed. And others protected, like you are saying. So here is the clarification. Some infrastructure in wetlands were established with due process of government approval, and removing them would result in civil liability to government and would cause loss to the taxpayer to compensate these people. There are some other establishments with past approvals, including some factories. These have been left until government takes a decision on such cases. There has been a case also of a fuel station in Ruviji that has largely been talked about. This fuel station received approval in 2017, and the approval was received after environment and social impact assessment that time. So removing them would mean that government is backtracking on its own approval and would cause financial loss to you and me, the taxpayers. So what you people are calling selective enforcement is actually prudence to avoid causing loss to the taxpayer. It is due diligence. When you are enforcing, you only remove those that have offended the law. If you remove somebody who has not offended the law, then you are liable. And we cannot cause financial loss to the citizens, well knowing that would be breach of our own duty to the taxpayer. Where was NEMA when all this encroachment happened? Questions have been asked. Where were you? Why did you wait for people to first build and then you turn around now? Where was NEMA? We want to address this. Day-to-day management of wetlands in Uganda is vested in the local governments, urban authorities, and the Department of Wetlands Management, Ministry of Water and Environment. NEMA plays a regulatory, monitoring, supervisory, and coordination role. It's therefore not a question of where NEMA was, because we are not in charge of day-to-day management of wetlands. It's not our mandate. But being regulators and overall supervisors of all activities of environment in Uganda, we also have a responsibility, and that's why we are taking action, and that's why we are answering this question. We are aware that the mandated institutions do not have adequate personnel, equipment, and operational funds to watch over every inch of wetlands in Uganda. For example, NEMA has had 65 to 132 staff since its creation in 1995 to 2023, last year. 65. So you cannot expect 65 staff to police a country called Uganda to know that there is backfilling here in Gayaza, there is backfilling in Kazi, there is backfilling in Ruviji, there is backfilling in Nakapiripirit. It is not humanly possible. The highest staffing levels NEMA has had is 132 as of last year, and now 217 out of the required number of a minimum of 2,570 if we are to have 2,000 enforcement personnel. We know this situation is not only in NEMA, this situation is also in local governments. Most of the local governments have not more than 3 staff in the Department of Environment. So to expect this to be the one to prevent you from using your common sense is expecting too much, because it's not humanly possible. Besides, it doesn't happen anywhere in the world that there is any government, including the developed world, that there is any government that watches over every inch of its soil to manage what a human being does there. That's not what is expected by law, actually. Even if we had all the resources, it would be still unpractical to oversee every inch of soil of Uganda where there is a wetland. This cannot happen anywhere. Besides, some encroachers are also wise. They backfill in the wee hours of the night and sometimes weekends when the enforcement is elsewhere. So, the people who call themselves wise, who come to pile trucks and trucks of soil at night, knowing that, you see, when I succeed and they don't see me, I have won the battle. Those ones are deceiving themselves. Even if you've backfilled and leveled and it is no longer wetland, we have capacity to use technology to look backwards and see what was there before. And in criminal law, crimes do not expire. So even if it has taken 1,000 years, you will be still held liable for your actions. So don't take chance and think that for you have beaten the system and therefore you have won the battle. Not at all. Indeed, our law did not expect that NEMA or local governments would police every inch of wetlands in Uganda. This only happens for central forest reserves and national parks, which have continuous surveillance on the ground. Perhaps we may adopt this model in the future to police certain critical wetland ecosystems to avoid them being degraded. Under Section 3 of the National Environment Act, the duty to create, maintain, and enhance the environment, including the duty to prevent pollution, is that of every person. So the duty is not on NEMA to ensure that you misbehave and you go unpunished. In fact, the duty we have is to ensure that we punish you who has failed to exercise your duty of care to the environment. Because the environment must be protected by every citizen. It's a duty under Section 3. So the law is very clear. Who is responsible for protecting the environment? It is the human being living in that environment. Don't wait for NEMA to tell you to do the right thing. The law already places the responsibility on you, not on NEMA. NEMA is a law enforcer. A law enforcer comes to enforce the law. When you commit a breach against the law, NEMA will come in. Before you have committed it, NEMA has no problem with you. In fact, it will sensitize you and educate you. But if you commit the crime, you are not going to say, where was NEMA? NEMA is now here. In any case, if you are saying NEMA was sleeping, as I have heard some people want to insinuate, should it continue sleeping? Is that the demand? Should we? Would it be reasonable that if there was sleeping, the sleeping should continue? Would that be in the best interest of the citizens? If mistakes have been committed, I'm not saying they were committed, but if mistakes were committed, must we say they have been committed and we should commit more? Certainly not. So we must start somewhere. Don't ask where NEMA was. NEMA is now here. The duty of government is therefore to look out for those that fail to fulfill this duty owed by every citizen to the environment. That's why Any person who degrades the environment commits offense and can be prosecuted or evicted, and this liability has no time limit. Government can prosecute a person or evict a person any time that government chooses to do so. There is no limitation. The right thing to do, therefore, is for all of us to be responsible for protection of the environment and not to wait to be told to do what we ought to do as reasonable people. When you wait and engage in acts that infringe on the law, you will be held accountable for your actions in line with the law. Lastly, protection of the environment is a prerequisite for human well-being and economic transformation of any society. We cannot succeed as a human race if we destroy the environment. No amount of money will buy rainfall. No amount of money will pollinate our crops. We shall still need pollinators. No amount of money will buy off and prevent disasters and epidemics. No amount of money will create alternative air for us to breathe. Environment protection is therefore a matter of life and death. We either protect the environment or we perish. I thank you.